In this video, I'm going to be reacting to the most popular Kickstarter advice on the internet in 2023. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome to Launch and Scale. I'm Khierstyn Ross, a Kickstarter and Shopify expert that works with early stage e-commerce brands to put their brands on the map within 2 to 3 years. And in today's video, I am going to do kind of a follow-up to my very popular why I don't think you should launch on Kickstarter in 2023, and also take a look at some competing advice on the internet. So let's get into it. All right, if you are new to Kickstarter or you are considering using it for an up-and-coming product launch, I first want to start this video by getting on the same page for what exactly Kickstarter is and why it is one of the most popular crowdfunding platforms on the planet. So back in 2008, it was started as a way to help startups get funding for new product ideas. So let's say you want to bring a journal to market, you talk to the printer, it's going to be $5,000 in design costs plus $20,000 to print, and you may not want to pony up your own money to do that. So instead what you would do is you would do a marketing campaign on Kickstarter.com, and you would get people from all around the world to pre-order your product so that you'll then be able to raise that $20,000 from people all around the world, take that money and go create your product and then deliver that product to them within 4 to 6 months. Now, Kickstarter has become one of the go-to ways for small businesses to get funding because let's face it, if you're in e-commerce, if you're in the physical product space, it is expensive to get up and running, and you may not want to risk your own money for a new product that hasn't been market tested yet. So Kickstarter has been an amazing way to launch companies, brands. It has created some 7- and 8-figure brands and enabled existing companies to go on and continue to build their audience. So obviously Kickstarter sounds like a great idea, which is exactly why a video like this got so popular. But today I'm going to react to some of the advice that Mike was giving on how you can use Kickstarter as a product launch platform to make passive income. So let's get into it.
In this video, revealing how to make money on Kickstarter. Now, complete beginners earning $100 to $700 a day with no experience.
Okay, so first he's setting the expectation that you can make a lot of profit off Kickstarter. Okay, interesting.
Now, Kickstarter gives you the ability to literally fund, a business. Even if you just have an idea, you're like, oh man, that would be a good idea, right? Like, how many times have you ever had that? Like, oh, that would be a good idea, but I don't have any money. It's essentially like, hey guys, who here has an idea? Oh, I have an idea. Great. Make a video about it. Throw it up on Kickstarter, and if people think it's a good idea, they will literally give you money for it. Think about how crazy that is. Here's some money, go ahead and create it, we want it. It's okay if it takes several months or several years, but yeah, we also don't want a percentage of the profits or anything. We just want, for example, we just want the product.
Ooh, okay, this is a really good start to unpack. So Mike in here is giving a few red flags and keywords for a beginner clearly that doesn't know the ins and outs of Kickstarter. They talk about, well, if you have no money, if you have an idea that you want to test, all you got to do is just put together a video, dump it up on Kickstarter, and then people are just going to give you money to pre-order your product, and they're okay waiting years and months to get it. No worries, because they just want the product. Let's start unpacking this. So, number one, that is how Kickstarter worked in 2012. And over the last decade, what has happened is backers are Kickstarter customers. They are early adopters. So yes, while it is true that someone that buys a product on Kickstarter is happy to wait for it, Mike makes it sound like they're just okay waiting years as long as they get the product. Kickstarter actually got a really bad reputation, and Kickstarter projects got such a bad reputation over the last 6-7 years, because here you had people throwing up ideas for products that they couldn't actually make or didn't properly look at how much it's going to take to bring it to market. And when these creators would throw up a video and get money from people all around the world, they would originally promise a timeline on delivery, okay? which means that timeline on delivery could be 6 months. But what ended up happening majority of the time is that most of these Kickstarter projects, because they collected money for ideas that were way too early, they got into major problems actually fulfilling the product. So Kickstarter started to get a really bad reputation because you have millions of people around the world that believe in a product idea, give money to a platform, to the creator of the platform to get this product. But more often than not, what would happen is the original timeline of promising 6 months delivery would literally go into 3-4 years. Sometimes backers wouldn't get the product. Sometimes the final product that was delivered was nothing like what was promised. Because the way that crowdfunding has progressed over the years is that first, back in 2008 when it was launched, it was literally like people would throw money at ideas because you didn't need to actually have proof that you can deliver on that. But this video right off the bat is completely inaccurate and dated, even though this was filmed in 2022, because Kickstarter and crowdfunding platforms now will screen projects that come on to make sure that you're actually at the prototype stage or you have tangible proof that you are going to be able to actually deliver on that product as promised. And the second part of this, which we're going to get into, of like how you can raise hundreds of thousands of dollars going in with no money, is BS. And we're going to talk about why in a second with a few of his other points. But another thing with like backers being okay waiting months, like absolutely not. That goes against everything that Kickstarter is right now. Let's keep watching.
If you really think about it, at the nature of what Kickstarter is, it gives literally entrepreneurs a platform to make money without all the risks of traditional startup and venture funds and whatnot, like for example in Silicon Valley, right? And that's exactly why Kickstarter works, is because you literally get people in like a specific niche, like for example, design and tech, right? Which is a really popular one, right? And you could actually see some of these products, like for example, this backpack right here in this design, right? This is something that people want for like a specific backpacker, right? Or a backer, right? You can see exactly what product this is, what it is about, what it is used for. You can see in all these different use cases for traveling and whatnot. And all this person literally had to do was he had to get like one small like order just to make the marketing videos on. And that would be literally all of his money that he would spend on. He wouldn't have to spend thousands of dollars on inventory. He wouldn't have to spend, tens of thousands of dollars hiring people. He literally just needs to create it once, get a little design from like, for example, Alibaba, get some supplier to go ahead and, for example, make a backpack for him custom, right? What? You can see they're willing to make some backpacks for really, really cheap, like $2, $3. You can see exactly what it is. The only downside is when you have to order it in bulk, you would have to order like.
Okay. Anyone watching this that has just seen that is the worst advice on Kickstarter on the planet I have ever seen. So let's go into it. So on the first part of that, Mike was saying how there's no financial risk when you go to Kickstarter, because if you launch your product and it's say not successful, then you don't have to pay for inventory, which to an extent is true-ish, but he's setting the expectation right away that all you gotta do, because Kickstarter has these categories where you drop your product and you put up a video and people just buy it as long as you just like set up the product page, okay? And he's saying you don't have to put in thousands of dollars or hire people or pay for inventory. That is the most wrong advice ever, because the way that Kickstarter has adapted over the last 15 years is that originally, again, when it first started, you didn't have to put a lot of marketing into it because, hey, if you got a great product, it would just go viral, and the platform itself with the backers and the traffic it's getting would really self-fund, would fund your idea. But in the last really 5 years, Kickstarter has kind of turned in on itself from an opportune platform for startups to gain money to more of a marketing platform. So first, let's look at how Kickstarter works. Kickstarter has hundreds of thousands of projects live on it every single day. How does Kickstarter make money? Well, Kickstarter makes money off of every dollar that you raise on their platform. They take 5%. It's like a matchmaking fee. But because Kickstarter has so much traffic, they only make money when projects are making money. So what that means is they need to have a way to quickly figure out what projects are popular and getting people to come back, what projects are making money, and which ones are just great content. And so what that means is that Kickstarter has an algorithm that helps it quickly figure out which projects should be on the front page, which ones should be easy to find. Because the easier to find a project is on their platform, the more money and attention it's getting. So what this means is that Kickstarter is not a platform where you will be successful if you just stick up a great video with a good-looking product. Kickstarter has to figure out what's making money. And so what this means is that you have to prove yourself to the platform when you first go live. What that means is that a Kickstarter campaign will, say, last for 30 days on average, 35 days on average. And in order for you to rank on Kickstarter, get that influx of organic traffic that they're known for, and influx of sales and going viral on the platform and like ranking, comes down to the work that you put in ahead of time. So when Mike is going in and saying that you just got to put a video up, that is absolutely not true. The way to have success on Kickstarter, and I am speaking of this from having multiple six-figure campaigns across different niches and being one of the top experts in the space, I can tell you that the way to be successful on Kickstarter is that you need to build up an audience of people. So think an email list, social media following from sometimes zero. So if you're watching this and Mike is saying this is for beginners, you need to literally build up your audience from zero. And that is not something you can do for free in a timely manner, okay? So what that means is that a lot of companies, to be successful, you do have to spend thousands of dollars building an email list from zero. You have to hire a marketing agency if you want this done right. That's thousands upon thousands of dollars. So the average person starting from zero is putting in thousands of dollars into a campaign, into building that list, into building that audience ahead of time. I'm so mad. Build an audience ahead of time so that when you launch on Kickstarter, you then have some traction right away from the audience that you've helped build up. And that traction of getting those pledges come in early is what notifies the Kickstarter algorithm of this project is successful. It's popular. Great. We're going to start boosting it. And that's how you start to become discovered. That's how you create that snowball effect and have a successful Kickstarter campaign. You need to put a ton of money into it. And so when Mike is recording this video in 2022 saying that you don't need any money to go into it, that's just wrong. And that's exactly why I created the video of why I think you should not use Kickstarter in 2023 if you are a new brand with no audience. Because what has ended up happening in the last 3 to 4 years is that Kickstarter has become so saturated that you need more and more money to go into the campaign to build your audience. You need a bigger audience in order to be able to compete for the eyeballs that are on Kickstarter, because it becomes so competitive. So what that ends up meaning is that if you're an existing brand that has an audience that you don't need to invest in building a new audience, Kickstarter ends up being a not profitable platform for your product. It is a platform that you can use as a discovery and validation tool, but it is in no way a platform that you can use to make profit on a product, okay? If you're an existing brand using it, that's a very different story. Okay, the second part of this, talking about Alibaba and how you could it's as easy as like going to Alibaba, buying a backpack for $2 and launching it. You want a really fast way to get your campaign kicked off Kickstarter? This tool of using dropship products or using products that you can just buy and resell is against Kickstarter and Indiegogo's community guidelines. This is everything that crowdfunding is not, and you should not do that. having your product go live on Kickstarter, your product has to be unique. It has to be not available for sale anywhere else. And it needs to be something that you have genuinely created. Either you take an existing product and you modify it to be something unique, or you have something that's a new category in and of itself, like the Jamstack we launched a few years ago, which is a attachable guitar amplifier. It's something new and novel in its category that was created from scratch. So going to Alibaba, drop shipping products, or using it as an additional e-commerce channel to sell your Amazon goods is absolutely not okay and not something you can do.
And you could see exactly how good this product is and how much people raise. Look at this, $250,000 when they only wanted an $8,000 goal. So you could see that there's huge demand and all of these people that want this, and they're willing to give you money to go ahead and create it. Now you can see why it's perfect for entrepreneurs, because I remember back in the day, I did the opposite. I did not crowdfund. I was like, you know what? I think a lot of people would want dog leashes, right? And I remember getting a bunch of dog leashes from China and then sending them over to try to sell it. And I spent several thousands of dollars on these like special dog leashes. But then no one actually bought it. And it was like ridiculous, because it was crazy that like I literally spent all this money and no one actually bought it. It actually kind of looked a little bit like this. And I spent a lot of money on it, didn't make any sales, right? But you know, why it's so perfect for entrepreneurs, it's like if you don't get any people to go ahead and back you, you maybe lost only a couple $100 as opposed to a couple thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars for a product that you did not know will sell.
Okay, so this is interesting because here he's talking about how when he was trying to sell dog leashes in the beginning, he didn't go to crowdfunding. So he spent all this money getting samples and like putting up, an e-com site, and it just didn't sell. But if you want to test a new idea, you can use Kickstarter by just like grabbing something again off Alibaba and putting up a page. And if it's not funded, c'est la vie, good riddance. That just means your product idea isn't viable. That's not accurate, because if your crowdfunding campaign fails, again, it's because of lack of traction and lack of traffic. So it's not necessarily, do not take what he's saying in terms of if you got an idea, you do a campaign with no previous marketing or build up, doesn't mean it's not going to be successful. It means that you didn't work the Kickstarter system the way that it needs to truly test a product. And actually, follow up, I don't believe that we should be using Kickstarter for product validation anymore. I think that we need to validate outside of Kickstarter because of what goes into truly making a campaign successful.
Which leads me to like, okay, well, how can you make money with it? Okay, everything is really invested in the marketing. If you look at this video, you can see most of their money is spent in actually creating this video. Look at this. If you understand what Kickstarter is, it's just a marketing platform. And if you spend all of your budget on this 2-minute video, that's where you need to spend like 80 to 90% of your money, your resources, and your attention. But do you think when they have 250 grand and when all they needed was 8 grand, that they could literally go to China and get someone to literally create like a bunch of these?
Okay. So this is going back to, wow, you need this professional video and you got to spend 80 to 90% of your budget on this video. Yes. You need a professional video. Yes, you do need to spend the money on something that's professionally curated. But I can tell you from personal experience, if you spend all your money on a great video and no money on marketing the video, again, Kickstarter does not hand you traffic. You need to spend a ton of money and time generating interest in your niche so that when you launch on Kickstarter and then your audience really goes to a page that has a professionally curated video that truly speaks and sells the product to them. That combination of traffic, pre-sales, and great product video that you put together with you and your marketing team, that is the winning combination to start to get that early traction in the first couple of days. And that is what is going to notify Kickstarter's algorithm that you are worth putting some clout behind and ranking on their platform. It is not that you go and spend 10 grand on a professional video and c'est la vie. That is not how you become successful on Kickstarter. It is not how that backpack company decided they only needed $8,000, which is, by the way, a hack that companies use by setting their goal lower so that the Kickstarter algorithm favors them more. So that company, likely to break even on this with like inventory and marketing, they likely needed to have an actual goal of $100,000 to do this, but because they're gaming the algorithm, their goal was lower. So just FYI.
Which leads me to the last concept with Kickstarter, and you are not actually making money on Kickstarter, you're making money with Kickstarter. Okay, because they're essentially funding your company. They're funding your idea. Like, think about it. Like, for example, for me, there were so many business ideas that I had to put it on a line of credit that I had to borrow money on. But granted, like, it started doing really well, but I went through a lot of sacrifice. Can you imagine living in a world where you could raise 250 grand for an idea that you had, right? You didn't need any startups. You didn't need any investors. You didn't need to do any of that. And now you have that money up front, and now you have that money to go ahead and, for example, create exactly what it is that you want, right? And it's from that you could create a business that could easily make $100 or $700 a day.
Okay, apart from being super misleading, because if you made it to this far in the video, you're like, it doesn't sound like you can just kind of do this with no line of credit, investors, etc. So the reality is you can go and raise $250,000, but what Mike is not talking about is what that company put into raise $250,000. Okay, so when you break down the 250 grand with 1,800 backers associated with that, you give 5% to Kickstarter. You need to pay for inventory outside of that. You need to probably pay off some credit cards for all of the marketing that you put into Facebook and Google ads. You need to pay for a video, which that video probably cost about 5 to 10 grand to do. The beautiful assets that they probably had a consultant or maybe even a marketing agency to do this. And now I haven't done back research to see like whether that backpack that he uses as a case study, if that was like a new brand or if that was an existing company that already had an audience going into this. But I'm kind of giving an opinion, assuming they're just brand new concept, new bag. They put in so much money to make this work that before the campaign even started, before inventory costs, they probably put about $40,000 to $50,000 into marketing, into assets, into a video. And that's not if they used a marketing agency. And then even in the campaign, they need to continue to market that. So that's probably an extra $20,000, $30,000 in Facebook and Google ads right there. Not to mention, as soon as the campaign is over, they now have to pay for not only the inventory to serve their 1,800 backers, but they can't afford downtime by not having more inventory. So they actually need to have enough money left over from the Kickstarter campaign to fund not only additional rounds of inventory, but have some operating expenses so that they actually have a bit of a float to start to build the company that eventually will yield $100 to $700 a day once you are off of Kickstarter and starting to build up your e-com side. So Mike makes it sound like, or he's insinuating that all you gotta do is put up a product that you found on Alibaba. You need to spend 10 grand on a beautiful video and the rest will follow. All of a sudden, magically, you've raised $250,000 and you've got a business that's generating $100 to $700 a day. This is the worst advice on the internet for present day crowdfunding in 2023 I have ever seen. So what that means is that I have created this video to help inform you of the dark side of Kickstarter. In my opinion, I think that Kickstarter is still an amazing crowdfunding platform, but what is not talked about online today is the dark side of it, or if you knew what I knew after a campaign, would you still have done it? So many creators go into this and go in debt, or they get into a process, or they're not happy with it because they weren't informed of the ins and outs of a true campaign. In summary, if you have made it this far and you're like, ooh, what should I do? Should I kickstart my product? I believe that if you have an existing audience, Kickstarter can be an awesome platform for you. I think that if you want to go to Kickstarter, as a new brand and you have you have deep pockets, you have an investor, you have access to marketing funds, that is not going to jeopardize your ability to fulfill product, I think Kickstarter could be a really good channel for you. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, I want to give you access to a few resources to help inform you on the topic and help you make a better decision as to, with your product that you are bringing to market, if Kickstarter is really right for you. So a few things in the description below, you're going to find a Kickstarter Shopify quiz to see if you should launch your product on Kickstarter or on your own website, number one. Number two, we have a video for a Kickstarter cash flow calculator where you can actually go through and create a budget and see, of the goal, if you want to raise $250,000 based on your MOQ, your inventory costs, etc., what is the financial investment and gain you could potentially make off Kickstarter, as well as other resources below. Outside of that, I hope you enjoyed this video. This truly made me upset when I came across Mike's video, and so I hope that it's at least informed you, and if you have a different opinion, please, I would love to hear it. Okay, anyway, thank you for subscribing, and we'll talk soon.